Time and truth. Two constraints that you can rely on. One shows up for the first time, every time, while the other never leaves. Matthew McConaughey. One of the last books that we read in 2020, and our favorite autobiography of the year, McConaughey tells his story in a candid way in which he invites us to explore the lessons of his life and what they taught him. These lessons come from 35 years of journaling and a lifetime worth of experiences, poems, prayers, beliefs, photographs, and a whole bunch of bumper stickers, as he describes it. He makes the point that we all know what green lights mean. It means go. Yellow and red lights, on the other hand, are signs to slow down and even to stop. As he describes his book in the introduction, he says, it's also a guide to catching more green lights, and to realizing that the yellows and reds eventually turn green too. McConaughey breaks down the lessons of the book into 8 parts. The first is called Outlaw Magic. Matthew grew up with parents who demanded respect. They had their own code of conduct and expected Matthew and his brothers to follow it. His parents expected him to be honorable, responsible, hardworking, and maybe more than anything, to own their decisions, especially their mistakes. His first green light came while building a treehouse during a summer living with his dad. For 2 months straight, he worked on the treehouse from sunup to sundown, using supplies he had acquired at a local lumber yard. Sitting in his finished treehouse, over 100 feet in the air, McConaughey tasted well-earned sense of accomplishment for the first time, and he learned the value of hard work. He describes it as the best summer of his life. The second part, find your frequency. In high school, he was known for his fun demeanor and lifestyle. He had a blue rundown pickup truck with a megaphone in it. Before school, he would use the megaphone to talk to girls, joking around with them, and after school, he would take them mudding. He wasn't the cool guy, he was the fun guy. On a whim one day, he traded in the truck for a cherry red sports car. Instead of talking on the megaphone in the parking lot, he was busy leaning against his car. He expected more attention from the ladies. The opposite happened. When he traded in his truck, he lost the effort, hustle, and fun that had made him popular in the first place. He got lazy. He tried to be the cool guy, expected the car to do all the work. After getting his truck back, he was back. He wasn't the cool guy. He was the fun guy. He had to find his frequency. The next part of the book, Dirt Roads and Autobahns. This section of the book talks through his early days in law school, finding the book The Greatest Salesman in the World, and how both led him to the set of Dazed and Confused, where he first uttered the 3 words that have followed him throughout his career. All right, all right, all right. Then, maybe our favorite lesson in the entire book, words that McConaughey carved into a tree. Less impressed, more involved. You see, once we are less impressed with our lives, then we can become more involved in them. Spend time working on ourselves instead of admiring ourselves. Live in the moment and appreciate them for what they are. Part 4. The Art of Running Downhill. Throughout some of the most successful periods of his career, McConaughey has scheduled or sought road trips alone to keep himself grounded. When you are running downhill, it is easy to get tripped up, believe the hype, or to lose yourself. These trips helped him ground himself and kept centered as he embraced what it was to be famous. The 5th part is to turn the page. Some people look for an excuse to do. Others look for an excuse not to. While on a safari through Africa, Matthew was challenged to a wrestling match with a village champion. He didn't know the rules, the customs, or the expectations when he accepted the challenge. In his eyes, sometimes it's not about the result. It's all about accepting the challenge. The next day, the man he wrestled, the champion of the village, walked with him 15 miles to the next village as a show of respect for participating, not for winning. The 6th part. The arrow doesn't seek the target draws the arrow. This section is all about being aware of what we attract in life. The things that we are naturally drawn to are not an accident or coincidence, and the same goes for the things that we draw to us. In 2005, he eliminated work on his production company and his music label so that he could focus on 3 things: family, foundation, and acting. Instead of getting a B in all 5, he would focus and get an A on each of the remaining 3. Be brave, take the hill is part 7. Guess what? You will face struggles and crisis in your life. It's inevitable. When faced with one, there is a 4-part plan to handle it. Recognize the problem, stabilize the situation, organize the response, and respond. The worst thing that you can do is to turn and run. Be brave. Take the hill. McConaughey relates how he spent almost 2 years turning down scripts that no longer resonated with him. He turned down multi-million-dollar offers because they no longer were the roles he wanted to play. He only wanted to do roles that resonated with him, and those weren't the ones that were being offered. By being brave, by not bending to what Hollywood wanted, he faced the very real possibility that his acting career was over and that he'd have to move on. Luckily for him, he did start getting scripts for projects that excited him and that he wanted to play. The lesson is the same though. Take the hill. Don't bend at what others want. And finally, part 8. Live your legacy now. I noticed that the realizations arrived quickly, the learning took time, and the living was the hardest part. I found myself right where I left me. The overwhelming theme of this book was to make mistakes, recalibrate, adjust, make more mistakes, get closer to yourself, recalibrate, and repeat. And most importantly, it was to live. Whether you are a 50-year-old looking back, like McConaughey, or a ripe 20-year-old, pick the important things in your life and pursue them. Live according to your North Star, and get familiar with the one person that you can't get rid of, yourself. Remember, time and truth, 2 constraints you can rely on. One shows up for the first time, every time, while the other never leaves. Autobiographies can be stuffy and boring. Not this one. It was well written and highly entertaining. The life lessons that you get along the way just tend to be a bonus. We highly recommend you pick this book up in print rather than on the Kindle or Audible, because there are so many quotes, illustrations, and journal entries that really stand up in the print copy. Now, do you got a book that you'd like to see us animate? Leave your comments down below, and your suggestions might just be our next video. Also, check out Bob Iger's The Ride of a Lifetime, another one of our favorite autobiographies from the last few years.